Hey everyone, and welcome back to ScamWise. I'm your host Ken, and today we're diving into a topic that's been making waves online lately. We're talking about those too good to be true headlines. You know, the ones that promise extra cash, especially around the holidays. You know the ones I'm talking about, right? Those tempting little clickbait nuggets that prey on our hopes for a little financial boost.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. These scams are designed to tap into our anxieties about money, especially during a time when many of us are feeling the pinch. And the scary part is, they're becoming increasingly sophisticated, mimicking the look and feel of legitimate news sources.
So for this deep dive, we're taking a closer look at a specific example that's been cropping up in searches. The rumor of a new $600 Centrelink payment. Now, who wouldn't love an extra $600, especially with the holidays right around the corner?
Right. It sounds amazing, but here's the catch. It's completely bogus. What's fascinating here is how this rumor is spreading. People are heading to Google, searching for things like Centrelink payment dates. And these fake news websites are popping up right at the top of the search results, claiming to have the inside scoop on this new payment.
I have to admit, I'm guilty of Googling things like how to call in sick on Monday mornings. So I can see how easy it would be to fall for this type of scam. Could you walk us through how these fake news sites actually work? How do they hook people in?
It's all about creating a sense of urgency and credibility. These websites are often designed to look like legitimate news outlets. With official-sounding names and logos, they might even use AI to generate content that sounds very convincing, mimicking the writing style of real journalists.
This is not just about flashy headlines anymore. They're actually crafting entire articles that sound like they could have come from a reputable source. That's a bit unsettling.
It is, and remember, we found that this particular scam is twisting the truth. There was a real carer supplement paid out earlier this year, also for $600. And these scammers are simply recycling that information and pretending it's a brand new payment to trick people.
So they're preying on people who might not have been aware of the previous payment and are hoping to catch them off guard. That's pretty sneaky. But okay, let's say someone clicks on one of these fake news articles. What happens next?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. These websites often include seemingly harmless things like email sign-up forms or surveys, maybe even a pop-up offering to help you apply for the benefit. But here's the real purpose. They're gathering your contact information for later scams. Essentially, they're building a database of potential victims.
So it's not just about making a quick buck from ad revenue. They're playing a longer game here.
Exactly. It's all about building a relationship, or at least the illusion of one, so they can gain your trust and exploit it later.
And this is where the concept of social engineering comes into play, right? They use the information they've gathered about you to craft a more targeted and personalized scam.
Precisely. Imagine this. You've been researching this fake $600 payment, maybe even entered your email on one of those dodgy websites. A few days later, you get a call. The person on the other end claims to be from Centrelink, and they reference the $600 payment you were looking into online. They say they can help you get the money quickly and easily. But there's a catch.
Let me guess. They need your MyGov login details to
No.
verify your eligibility or something like
You
that.
got it. They might say it's a standard procedure, or they need to update your details, but the reality is they want access to your account so they can steal your payments, change your banking information, or even commit identity theft.
That's a frightening thought. And it's a stark reminder that we can't be too careful when it comes to protecting our personal information online. These scammers are getting more sophisticated by the day.
They are, and the consequences of falling for these scams can be devastating. We're not just talking about losing a few dollars here. We're talking about the potential for long-term financial hardship and damage to your credit score. It can be incredibly difficult to recover from. It can feel like a minefield out there, especially when these scammers are using advanced tactics to trick people.
You're absolutely right. But knowledge is power, right? The more we understand about these scams, the better equipped we are to avoid them. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what our listeners can do to protect themselves. What are some red flags to watch out for when browsing online?
One of the biggest giveaways is often the content itself. These fake news websites might have flashy headlines and official-looking layouts. But if you dig a little deeper, the writing is often what we call low-quality AI dribble.
Right.
It's like they're using those AI writing tools to churn out content that's just a jumble of keywords and generic phrases, without any real substance or analysis.
So even if the website looks legit, the writing itself can be a telltale sign that something's fishy. Isn't AI writing getting better all the time, though? How can we be sure we can even tell the difference anymore?
That's a great question. It's true that AI is becoming more sophisticated, but it still has a long way to go before it can truly replicate human writing. You'll often notice a lack of depth, nuance, and those little quirks that make human writing engaging. And if you see a lot of grammatical errors or awkward phrasing, that's a major red flag.
Makes sense. What of the overall design of the website? Are there any visual cues that might tip us off?
Absolutely. Keep an eye out for an excessive number of ads, especially those low quality or irrelevant ones that seem to pop up everywhere. Legitimate news sites do have ads, but they're usually more controlled and less intrusive. Another thing to watch for is broken links or pages that don't load properly. It's a sign that the website might not be well maintained or that it's a hastily put together scam.
Good points. And of course, we can't forget about the URL itself.
Right. Always check the web address carefully. If you're looking for information about a government program or service, the official website will always end in joe.gov.au if you see any other ending, like joe.com or joe.org. Proceed with caution. And be wary of URLs that are long, complicated, or contain misspellings.
It's like those phishing emails. They try to trick you into clicking on a link that looks almost identical to the real thing. But if you look closely, you'll see a subtle misspelling or a slight variation in the domain name.
Exactly. It's all about paying attention to the details. Scammers often rely on people being in a hurry or not looking too closely.
So let's say we've done our due diligence. We've checked the content, the design, the URL, and everything seems to be in order. Is there anything else we should keep in mind?
Absolutely. Never underestimate the power of cross-checking information. If a website makes a claim that seems too good to be true, or if you're just not sure about its legitimacy, take a few extra minutes to verify the information elsewhere. Go directly to the official source, whether it's a government agency, a reputable news outlet, or a trusted consumer advocacy group.
Don't just trust the first thing you see on Google. Do your own research and make sure the information is coming from a reliable source.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we've talked about how to spot these fake news websites. But what about those other scams we mentioned earlier, like phishing emails and phone calls? What can we do to protect ourselves from those fence?
Well, when it comes to phishing emails, the best advice is, if in doubt, don't click. Legitimate organizations will never ask for your personal information or login details via email. And be wary of any emails that create a sense of urgency or pressure you to act immediately.
It's like those emails that say your account has been compromised, and you need to click on a link to verify your information. It's a classic phishing tactic.
Exactly. And if you're ever unsure about an email's legitimacy, contact the organization directly through their official channels to confirm.
Don't reply to the email or click on any links. Go to their website or call their customer service number to verify the information.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to phone scams, it's all about being assertive and skeptical. If you receive a call from someone claiming to be from a government agency or a financial institution, don't be afraid to ask questions and verify their identity. Remember, they should be able to provide you with specific information to prove who they are.
So if they can't give you a valid reference number or explain the reason for their call clearly, that's a big red flag.
Absolutely. And if you feel pressured or uncomfortable at any point during the call, hang up. It's better to be safe than sorry.
All good advice. But what if, despite our best efforts, we still fall victim to a scam? What steps should we take to mitigate the damage?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember that anyone can fall victim to a scam. These criminals are experts at manipulation, and they prey on our vulnerabilities. So first things first. Don't blame yourself. It's not a reflection of your intelligence or your judgment.
It's easy to feel embarrassed or ashamed after falling for a scam, but it's crucial to remember that you're not alone. It happens to people from all walks of life.
Exactly. Now, in terms of practical steps, if you believe you've been scammed, it's crucial to act quickly. Contact your bank or financial institution immediately to report any unauthorized transactions.
And report the scam to the appropriate authorities, right, like the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, or ACCC, or the Australian Cybersecurity Centre.
Exactly. They have resources available to help victims of scams recover and prevent further harm.
And don't forget about the emotional impact of being scammed. It can be incredibly stressful and upsetting.
That's so true. Reach out to someone you trust for support. Talking to a friend, family member, or even a professional counselor can help you process what happened and move forward.
Remember, there's no shame in seeking help. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. We've covered a lot of ground today, from fake news websites to phishing emails and phone scams. It's clear that these criminals are constantly adapting their tactics to try and stay one step ahead.
You're absolutely right. It's like a cat and mouse game. But I think what's really striking is the increasing role of technology in all of this. We've talked about AI-generated content and how scammers are using it to create more convincing scams. But what are your thoughts on the bigger picture?
Oh, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? On the one hand, technology has made it easier for scammers to reach a wider audience and create more sophisticated scams. But on the other hand, it's also giving us new tools to fight back.
Exactly. Think about all the security features we have now that we didn't have just a few years ago. Two-factor authentication, biometric logins, anti-phishing software. These are all powerful tools that can help us stay safe online. But it's important to remember that technology alone isn't enough.
So it's not just about having the latest gadgets or software. We need to be proactive and educate ourselves about the latest scams and how to avoid them.
Absolutely. Awareness is key. The more we understand about how these scams work, the better equipped we'll be to spot them and avoid falling victim. It's like learning a new language. The more you practice, the more fluent you become.
I like that analogy. So what's one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to remember from this deep dive?
I think the most important thing is to be skeptical. Question everything you see online, especially if it seems too good to be true. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Do your own research and verify information from multiple sources. And if something doesn't feel right, trust your instincts.
That's great advice. Trust your gut, do your research, and stay vigilant. We can't eliminate scams entirely, but we can make it much harder for them to succeed.
Exactly. And remember, we're all in this together. Talk to your friends and family about these scams, share your experiences, and help spread awareness. The more people we can educate, the stronger our defenses will be.
Well said. It's been a fascinating and insightful discussion.
It has, and a little bit scary too. But knowledge is power, and I feel like we've armed our listeners with some valuable information today.
Absolutely. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Before we sign off, I want to remind our listeners to subscribe to ScamWise. For more insights on staying safe from scams, we release new episodes every week, so hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of scam busters.
And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel for even more scam-busting tips and tricks.
We love hearing from our listeners, so be sure to leave a comment and let us know what you think of this episode. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, we're all ears. Until next time, stay safe and stay scam-wise.
See you next time!